So if you're not aware of the situation, the government shut down, we know, yada, yada. They can't pay the people in the military. The SNAP benefits are going to run out on November 1st. And of course, the left and the right, they're both doing this thing where they're pointing the finger. They've been doing it since October 1st when the government shut down. And they're looking for some political points to say, hey, the Republicans aren't doing this. The Democrats aren't doing this. This is who you need to blame. What I do want to talk about is they're saying we can't fund this emergency funding for SNAP because this is not an emergency. This is a run-of-the-mill government shutdown. These contingency funds that we have are supposed to be only for emergencies. I would say that we're in an emergency, right? That's what the Democrats are arguing. They're arguing that we're in an emergency. The Republicans are saying that we're not. And of course, like we said, it's to give some political points in order to get some leverage to force a vote in order to get the government back open. We know this, right? What's confusing me is they can take emergency funds from the research and development for the military, right? They took, I think it was $8 billion in order to pay the troops on the 15th. But they're saying, hey, we can't take emergency funds, these contingency funds from SNAP in order to pay the SNAP benefits to all of these people across the board. Doesn't make sense to me. If you're saying, let's just follow me for a second. If you're saying that Democrats should vote to reopen the government because they voted for this resolution or this bill 6 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it was. Okay, but you guys in the last shutdown, you used contingency funds in order to pay for SNAP. So if you're using what you voted for in the past as a precedent, wouldn't it stand to reason that you can open up the government again because you've used these funds in the past for this very same like line of accounting? But you're saying it now because you see that there's no leverage other than making it painfully worse for the American people. So you're saying, hey, if we fuck up their lives just enough, they're going to turn to the Democrats and say, oh, it's their fault. I think not. The people are looking at the situation, and most people are not like paying attention to politics. They're not paying attention to the news. So who are they going to blame? They're going to blame the person that's in the seat. Who's in the seat? Donald Trump is. The same way that they attributed the pandemic relief funds to Trump, right? He was in the seat. Nancy Pelosi says she approved them. They were her idea. They were the Democrats' idea. And people got $1,200 one time. They got another $1,200 another time. And they attributed that to Trump. So this time when people are going to start hurting, when these SNAP benefits are not going to be hitting people's EBT cards, they can't go to the grocery store and they're not able to sustain themselves because of, we're not arguing that people should or shouldn't get SNAP benefits in general. What I'm saying is when people are not able to get them and they were previously getting them and they're expecting them for November 1st, they're going to go into that month and they're going to look at the Republicans by way of Donald Trump and they're going to say, okay, it's their fault. Now, I said time and time again ad nauseum that Republicans, they do a good job in messaging in terms of saying, hey, it's the Democrats. Look what they've done. They're not coming to the table to compromise. They want to give all of this money to illegal aliens for healthcare. They do a good job at that. They do a good job at making it like throwing people off of their trail. So I'm not going to pretend that doesn't happen. But when people start looking at the situation and they can't get the groceries that they need or they're going to start going hungry, they're going to look at the person that's sitting in a chair and that person is going to be Donald Trump and he's going to get the brunt of the blame. Rightfully so, right? Rightfully so, he's going to get the blame. And I think that's something that the Republicans are not looking at. It says New York and 25 other states sue USDA to keep SNAP benefits rolling during the government shutdown. Of course, this was yesterday. The situation would have escalated over the past 24 hours. But nonetheless, let's get this reporting so that we can talk about it. More than 2 dozen states have filed a lawsuit Tuesday accusing the U.S. Department of Agriculture of illegally cutting off food assistance for over 42 million Americans. 42 million people in the United States rely on this and WIC in order to feed themselves. I don't remember if this article specifically gets into it, but the average amount that people get for the month is $187, right? It's not life-changing money, but it is money. When you're on your last dollar, when you're on your bottom dollar, any additional money that you can get helps. It counts. So whether it be $12, $1,000, or $182, having extra money that is coming not by way of you working is going to help you pay for your groceries, pay for your rent, and you're counting on that money. Because if you weren't counting on it, you wouldn't apply for the program. You wouldn't need it. It says New York Attorney General Letitia James and 25 other Democrat state leaders, including those in the District of Columbia, blasted the USDA's decision to suspend November payments for SNAP, arguing it violates federal law. They're saying it violates federal law because you're required to provide those benefits for anybody that qualifies for them and needs them. There is a way to get the money, right? We talked about these contingency funds. I believe they had about, I forgot how much it was that they had, $6 billion, I believe, they have in contingency funds. And they're saying, hey, we're not going to pay that out. So check this out. $90 billion is what went to pay for SNAP in 2024 across all of the entire year. They have $6 billion in contingency funds. 6 times 12 is 72. So they have the money to fund this for quite a few months. They don't even want to pay for it for 1 month in contingency funds. And they're using this, like I said, as leverage against the Democrats. The Republicans are. The people that are running USDA and the control of these funds, Donald Trump is in their pocket, just like he's in everybody across the board's pocket because they want to stay in his good favor. So they're using this as a leverage tool, and then they're going to turn around and say, oh, look what the Democrats are doing to you by not bringing the government shutdown to an end. Never mind what the Republicans are doing to you. They have the power and they have the funds, their contingency funds, but I would say that we're in an emergency when 42 million people rely on those benefits and they're not getting them. So if there was an intention to fund it, it could be funded. The money is already there. It's not like they're asking for additional money that doesn't exist in some sort of allocation. It's already been allocated. It's already there. It's sitting like in their quote unquote savings. All they got to do is transfer it from their savings to their checking and start sending it out to people if they had the intention to do that. But if people are not on their last dollar and they're not hurting, they can't use that as leverage against the Democrats in order to do this media run that they're doing and kind of twist the arms more of Democrats, right? Unfortunately, as we know time and time again, you have to go through a little pain in order to get to the success. No pain, no gain. So if the people of the United States have to suffer a little bit or a lot of it in order for the Republicans to push their message, that's just going to be what it is, right? They're not in this game to lose. They're playing the game. They're playing the game of politics, and in messaging they're winning, but in terms of actual like what's happening to people, they're losing. Because a lot of the people that are on these SNAP benefits, that are on these government assistance programs, are people in these rural communities, people in the Midwest, in these rural communities, which is where the Republicans thrive, right? Those are their constituents. Those are the people that most rely on these benefits. I know that over the past couple of decades, they tried to do this thing where they're like, oh, it's these inner city people, it's these black people, it's these black women that are welfare queens. But the statistics show that the people that are going to be hurt most by this are the constituents of these Republicans. That's why you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene that was pushing like, yo, we need to get the government back open. This is not good for my people. I'm not aligning with this party politics thing that Mike Johnson is trying to push. That's how we got to this point with her, where she's coming out in all of these different podcasts and these media outlets where she's railing so hard against what the Republican Party is doing, because she knows she's going home. She's having to talk to people. She's having to face these people and answer for why she's not doing something to help alleviate their pain. And that's what a lot of Republicans, it was being reported since the inauguration that a lot of Republicans were skipping doing town halls. They were coming to these town halls, especially after the big, beautiful bill passed, and they were getting shit on by their constituents. This is going to be another pain point for those very same constituents. And then Republicans, they can do all the propaganda and media saying it's the Democrats. But when they're sitting in front of the people that are more politically inclined, that come out to these things, that have questions and want direct answers, it's not going to look so good.